Wondering how your mindset affects your life? How to bring more energy into your business and life? Millions of people around the world ask these same questions daily. You are in the right place. Learn practices that will help give your life the meaning and success you've been searching for. Welcome to the Charge Podcast, teaching you how to create habits around real goals every day. Practical life advice from those who made it. Here's your host, Gary Wilbers.
This sponsorship break brought to you by the Ascend Mastermind. In the midst of complexity of leading your business, new challenges are introduced almost every single day. It can leave you feeling disorganized, distracted, and downright confused. It doesn't have to be this way. We believe everyone should have the ability to reach their full potential in business and life. Make the time to invest in your business because it's time to kill the grind and find new flexibility and success. You don't have to do it alone. The Ascend Mastermind Peer Advisory Board will give you access to other like-minded individuals to share your challenges with and hold you accountable. It will help you move from stagnant to growth and give you more freedom in your business and life. To learn more how to apply, go to chargepodcast.com and click on the link, The Ascend Mastermind. Welcome, Chargers. We're glad to have you again this week. Can you believe we're in 2022? I tell you, 2021 was a great year, but I am so excited about this year. And I'm really excited because we're launching our new platform and really sharing with you in the Charge Podcast how we can really help you solve some problems in your life. And we find guests each time that allows us that capability. So today we have Christina with us. And Christina, what problem do you solve?
I think I could probably help solve how to start a business when you're sitting on just scraps.
All right. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
So if you're going to solve that problem for us, what's 3 questions that I could answer you that you're going to answer for the audience really to be able to answer that problem?
Well, one is how to make money out of those scraps. 2, you have to have the drive to thrive. It's really that. And then I think we've all been through trauma in one way or another in our lives. And how do you use that to your advantage in business?
Oh, great. I love it. This is going to be a great podcast. I'm looking so much forward to it. And Christina Vitagliano, I messed it up. There I did it. Stuff she even told me before. Vitagliano. No, help me out.
Let me do it. Vitagliano.
Vitagliano. And
okay,
I had it before. So see, but it happens. We're live. So this happens. We're going to go with it. But Christina, see, that's the way I'll do from now on.
Much easier.
It's the founder of Monster Mini Golf. She's created, designed, and is responsible for a nationwide franchise chain of indoor, glow-in-the-dark, monster-themed mini golf family entertainment centers. And she is also the author of Every 9 Minutes, a Memoir. So it is so great to have you, Christina. I'm looking forward to our conversation as we go. Thanks for joining us today.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for having me.
Well, I love calling my audience the Chargers, and we kind of set it up with kind of the problem that you solve. And the thing that I really want to do is give them ways that they can improve and really help themselves. So we talked about how can we really go from that scrappy to grow a successful business? And you kind of shared one of your first questions was, how can you take that fuel that you have and to really be able to make money from what you create?
Sure. Well, when I first started Monster Mini Golf, the goal wasn't let's have 30 franchise locations all over the country and, toss them in other countries as well. That wasn't how I started. With me, I just needed to survive. So I had, at the time I just met my husband or had recently met my husband, and I was always a workaholic. So my background is retail management, district management, the basic, path of life, the corporate ladder. And I also spent some time managing nightclubs and restaurants. So when we met and we connected, I left my career and just stopped working the crazy hours and started working with my husband. then got bored. And then during that time, I had written my memoir. When I got done writing the memoir, which is over 20 years ago, back then, self-publishing wasn't as easy to do as it is now. So, and we didn't have any money. Neither one of us come from money. We lived paycheck to paycheck. And when I got done editing, and when I got done writing, I learned that in order to have a book professionally published, you should definitely have it professionally edited first. So quoting on editing ran anywhere from $5,000 to like $8,000. So we didn't have that money. So I said to my husband, what if I can come up with something where I can work and it can just be me and a friend, and I'll raise the $5,000 to edit the book, but we can also make a living as well. So I can kind of do both. And my husband's just like, whatever, because he's kind of used to me doing crazy things. So that's how Monster Mini Golf started with. It was very MacGyver. That's what I say. We had this empty space in the old mill. My husband's business used to be audio and concert productions. So he would rent equipment to concerts and things like that. So he stored his equipment in this really old mill that should have been condemned. Of that, we had about maybe 5,000 square feet of space that I could do something with. And it was the middle of a town in Northeast Connecticut. We had a total population of about 5,000 people. So on the way home from New York one night, I said to him, I think I know what I want to do. He's like, cool, what? I said, I think I want to do mini golf indoors. And he said, why? Why would anybody want to do that in New England? And I said, well, I want to be able to work year round. I can't work 3 months a year. That we won't make enough money. And he said, but why would anybody want to golf indoors? And I said, well, what if we made it fun, like the nightclub business that I used to work in, but we made it so that adults and children would have a good time. And again, I had no money. So I learned that from the nightclub business, if you paint everything black and you add lights and you use fluorescent paint in places, that's what shows up. So that's how black lights came to be in our world. The monster part was for a few reasons. One, if I said, hey, I want to make it train themed, I couldn't afford to buy trains, nor could I make trains. And two, monsters worked in this mill that probably should have been torn down, and I could make monsters. Monsters were whatever came out of your imagination. So, and the other biggest reason to me was it had to have little to no overhead. So my experience in business is a lot of inventory, a lot of help means very little profit and a lot of work. So mini golf seemed very simple. It'd been around for almost 100 years. Somebody comes in, they give you money, you hand them a club and a ball, they go have fun, and they give you the club and the ball back. That's a pretty good profit margin.
Yeah.
At the time, you use a scorecard. Now we have apps for that, so it's even better. So to me, it was just, deductive reasoning. What have I got? What can I make? How can I make it work? And that's how Monster Mini Golf was born. I wanted to do something fun for me, to provide fun for children. A little bit of the background of, my memoir, it was tossed into that. And I wanted whatever we did to cost less than the movies. Because movies, from what I heard from parents in the area, they become unaffordable. You can't go to the movies and not spend $100. And families in your average income and low income towns don't have that expendable income. So mini golf was very affordable. So that's how Monster Mini Golf was born.
Yeah, that's an interesting and fascinating story, and I love it. Now, tell me, because, a lot of people have one business and they start it, but then you decided to franchise it. So I'm just curious, what really changed in you from there? Because the thing is, a lot of people think, okay, I've got this going, and they maybe do a location that's close, but you decided to franchise it. What kind of started that dream or goal?
Fair. So we opened in May of 2004. And by the end of the summer, by the end of August that year, we had a few articles in some of the local papers. Providence Journal, which was our biggest city near us, had written a really nice spread and did some nice photos of our place. So I remember the day that I went, holy cow, I have to do something. It was towards the middle of August. It was a rainy Sunday. And it was me and my friend, that's who was working there. We were working together and the place was mobbed. And all I could hear for all these people from the parents were, this place is a gold mine. This place is a gold mine. And I got scared because I'm looking at parents that have more money than I do. And I thought, holy cow, somebody's going to steal this idea. So my husband had called during the day. He was on Block Island doing a concert, pouring rain. He had left at like 4 a.m. and probably wouldn't get home until 2 or 3. And he called that afternoon and he said, how are you guys doing? I said, I can't even talk to you. We're so busy in here. It's nuts. I said, we have to do something. And I was panicking because we were making, for me, a lot of money, but also I was fearing losing it to somebody who could really just kind of come and gobble us up. So he said, well, what do we have? And I think we had like $3,000 for a Sunday, which was huge. You know, it was 2000 to me, it was big. And he said, I can't believe that it's like 3 p.m. You've made $3,000. You haven't left your place and all you're doing is just taking money and having fun. And I'm out here busting my ass and I'm not going to make that today. He said, we have to rethink this. So when he came home, I had already gone online, and I tell people I Alta Vista'd it because that's how old our concept is. And this is how new the internet is. There was no Google then. And I just said, how do you franchise your business? Because in my head, I had 2 choices. We could either open another location in the city, which I don't think we could afford to have built. And I think one of the cool things about our business, especially in the family entertainment business, is that when you walk into a Monster Mini Golf, along with teenagers and young kids working there, you're probably going to see an adult, an actual mature adult. And to me, I had learned that that made a huge difference in family entertainment world. So when somebody walked in our doors, you could see the parents walk in, get happy, and then almost a sigh of relief. Like, holy cow, there's somebody my age that's responsible for this place. And that says a lot. So I just got online and I just typed in, how do I franchise my business? That's as much as I knew about franchising, aside from McDonald's existed and Dunkin' Donuts existed. That was it. Wow. And I found 3 results. Again, the internet was old. So I had 3 results that taught you from, here's your business and we'll take you to franchising. I called all 3. 2 of them pretty much hung up on me because they had no idea what I was doing. And one of them said, what are you doing? And I said, we're doing mini golf indoors. It's blacklight. We have music, blah, blah, blah. We're doing birthday parties. And they said, that sounds really cool. Why don't you come visit us and we'll explain what franchising is all about. So I don't know, I go through. So do you have time? We good?
Sure, yeah.
Okay. So my husband and I said to my husband, we're going to go learn how to franchise our business. And he was like, oh, dear God. So I talked him into flying to Chicago. We get on the plane. And I remember that's the day, like I said, our lives just changed. We get off the plane and get out of the airport. And there was somebody there to pick us up. And we are very normal looking people. To this day, you would have no idea what we own. We wear jeans, we're casual. And we walked out of the airport and there was a man in a very nice suit and a sign with our name on it. I was like, oh, this is great. He's going to give us a ride. And he was in a black Mercedes sedan. And I thought, uh-oh, we're in over our head here. I got scared. I'm like, we're doomed. So he took us to this, it was like a 12-story building in Chicago. And we started on floor 1 and we learned as we took each floor and each went up each level, how to franchise your business in every facet of it. So there's financing, there is the legal aspect because we're regulated by the FTC. There's the marketing, there's the accounting, all of it. It was crazy. And every time we left the floor, Patrick and I gained a new executive. So by the time we got to the top floor, there was the 2 of us and like 7 suits. And it just got a little bit more intimidating as you got, each level. So we sat down at this big conference table and whoever was in charge said, hey, how do you feel about franchising now that you've learned about it? I was like, this is great. You teach us everything. It takes about 9 or 10 months to become legally franchisable. The first thing they do is evaluate your business to make sure there's enough money in it for other people to make money, which is super important. So I said, it sounds great. How do we do it? He said, well, we can start today and all you have to do is give us $130,000. I was like, we don't have $130,000. It's not going to happen. So I just said, it's not happening. This is great, but this isn't for us. And he said, we think it's going to be a good franchise. And I said, it doesn't matter. We don't have $130,000 or any way to get $130,000. So he said, hang on. He left the room and he came back with this crazy little man who happened to be the owner of the company. He had a lot of energy, kind of nutty, and he had our website in his hand. And back then, even websites weren't all that big a deal, especially in businesses like mine. But I had learned how to build my own and just did everything with no money, back to scraps. So he took the website and he flung it across the table, and all these pages went flying. And we were like, uh-oh, this guy's nuts. And he said, I don't care what you do. You're not leaving here today until you franchise your business. I said, okay, well, we're back to square one. We don't have $130,000. And he said, what if I loan it to you? And I looked at him, I'm like, we don't know this man from Adam. He said, we grant about 100 franchise companies to franchise business, about 100 a year. He said, of those, 90% of them are either restaurant or the service industry. And when you think about it, that's pretty much what franchising is. It's either services or restaurant business. So I was like, that's interesting. And he said, you have something that's a proven concept that's been around for 100 years. And then you took it and gave it a 21st century twist. He said, that will work in franchising. Again, don't have $130,000. He said, what can you two afford to pay me per month? Just think about it. Come up with a number. And then when you become legal to franchise, your franchise fee will probably be about $30,000 or so. If you give me $10,000 every time you sell a franchise, then you can use, that's what I want after whatever you can afford in this first 9 months. He said, and then, you can pay it off that way. And I looked at my husband, we talked about it a little bit, and I said, we have nothing to lose. We don't own anything. We don't have any children. Worst that can happen is, well, who knows, but we didn't, we said, let's do this. So we gave him a number and we said, okay, we're going to do it. We didn't think about how we were going to do it. We just said yes. And he was like, great, this is fantastic. Let's go. Two things. One, the interest rate on this loan was 29 or 28.9%. That was terrifying. Yeah. Especially now that I just know so much more. I'm like, holy cow, what were we thinking? But we got back on that plane and Patrick said, let's figure out a way to do this faster than it normally would be done. So he said, what if I sell all of my equipment in my business and I join you in your business and this is what we do for a living? And I said, well, if you're going to do that, that's huge. Why don't we just sell everything we own, raise as much money as we possibly can, and we moved into our golf course. So we spent the next 9 months living on the floor of our office on like a futon bed with our dog. We had a Mastiff that weighed like 204 pounds, living at Monster Mini Golf. And those are some crazy, crazy months. But,
those are the fun ones, though. You look back and you just say,
my God.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe I've done it. But that's most entrepreneurs are that way. And the thing is, there's someone listening. And that's why I wanted to share that whole story, Christina, because somebody has a dream. They have something they want to do. And you're going to have to take that risk. I mean, you're going to have to move forward with that risk. And, even in your life, the one thing we've talked about is you've kind of had your childhood. In your childhood is kind of some trauma there that really fueled your drive to succeed. Can you share with us, that fuel that really made a difference? Because sometimes people think they can't do it. Yeah. Instead, we've just got to believe we can.
Yeah. I had a ridiculous childhood, years and years of child abuse. And my memoir talks about that. So I think there's obviously that should never happen to anyone, but what comes out of it is every day when I finally moved out of my house, and as you age and become a mature adult, you realize that, holy cow, I can't believe I'm actually alive, never mind anything else. So to me, I've already survived the worst part of my life. So anything that I do from here is, what's the worst that can happen to me? Certainly isn't that again, So I always look at what's the worst that can happen. And if the worst that can happen in business is I lose my business and end up working at Walmart or McDonald's for a living, I'm still making a living. I don't care. I don't need to have boats and all these kind of things. So that's a decision that I've made from within. But it makes taking risks much easier.
Right. Well, and you didn't play victim. And that's the thing. We don't know who's listening today, but they've taken inventory on their life. And sometimes people will dwell on what has happened to them and they allow that to define their life.
Yes.
You did not allow that. I congratulate you on that, but I challenge our listeners. You may be that person that you're saying, well, I can't because. Don't think that way. Instead, open up. There is some fear to it. I mean, we shared Christina's whole story. There's lots of fear to it. But if you allow fear to overtake you, it's not going to happen, and you're not going to be able to move forward. And I think that's the real key. And I think it's a great message since we're so early in 2022, because some people have written down those goals already and they've already stopped, because if they said they were going to go to the gym 3 days a week, they got up the first week, and then the second week it was really cold outside or whatever, and the alarm went off and they said, I'm not going. So whatever it is for you that you want to change, you have to be able to overcome that. And sometimes it's not about trauma, but sometimes it's just our own self stopping us. So I think it's a great message to share. You talked a little bit about it through the story, but the one thing you really shared was how you were scrappy. And if you were talking to someone and they were thinking about starting a business, what kind of advice, I think that was your third question, what kind of advice would you share them to go for it?
Wow. I would say that you don't have to, not that it's a bad thing, but you don't have to follow all of the little rules that you're going to find when Google says, how do I start a business? Yes. That's overwhelming now. And I would say 20 something years ago, it didn't exist, but now it says, make a business plan, do this, do that, do that. I didn't have a business plan. I really did MacGyver the whole thing. And don't put this end date of this is when I have to have it done, because as long as you're moving forward, you're moving forward. I think if we put stress on ourselves, I have to have it done by this date. We do need goals, but if you don't have something accomplished by that date, then you stop doing it. And I think that we kind of just do things like that, just keep moving forward, and don't listen to your friends and your neighbors and your family when they tell you can't do something. That drives me bananas.
Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Holy cow, it drives me nuts. Our franchisees to this day will do that. And well, this is what my friend said. Has your friend done it? Have they, and not only have they tried it? Sure. Did they accomplish it? Big difference. So take advice from people who can give you advice with experience.
That is a great point, because I'll be honest, back in 1990, I got into the mobile phone industry. Well, today it's the wireless industry. I'm not in that anymore, but how many people ever expected to do what it did? I mean, I literally would be asked by people, they would say, well, what's going to happen when you sell everyone that has one? Well, the market's going to expand. It's going to grow. I did not know that everyone would have one, but I just felt like it would change. And, if you listen to those naysayers, and it's not that they mean bad, they just don't know. They don't have the experience, like you said. Go to some business owners. And to be quite honest, when you go through the struggles which you went through, where you all sold everything, lived in the warehouse of where you had your location, number one, it really makes you appreciate where you've come from.
Yeah.
So I congratulate you. What a great story. Thanks for sharing with our chargers that and sharing your heart of what you're doing. I've got a couple questions that I'd like to ask you in the recharge round before we wrap up, and then we'll share about your book and how people can reach out and connect with you and check everything out that you have, Christina, there. So my first one is, the podcast is called Charge. It's the acronym for Create Habits Around Real Goals Every Day. What habit do you have that really do you think has made you successful in your life?
I would say I try to stay ethically and morally healthy in business. And I'll also say that that's a much longer, windier, hillier road. In franchising, and I think our businesses is different. I'm no longer a business owner. I'm a franchisor. So you have an obligation to your franchisees to treat them as if that business, which we get a piece of, is also your own business, and you own that too. And I think sometimes in franchising that gets forgotten. We've been around for almost 20 years. We only have 30 something locations, 31, 32 locations. We're small, but we're tight. And I think that's one of the biggest reasons that we've come out of or are coming out of a pandemic with one of the best years we've had. So, and that goes a lot to be said for morals and ethics and just being real.
Yeah. Well, you have a relationship with your franchisees. I mean, I'm sure you can name them all by name. And it's
not always good.
It's really what you're doing in your business. It's a family atmosphere, because what are you wanting? What do you want clients to come to your business? It's a family business that they come to, to have fun as a family. So what a great philosophy to have. Congratulations on that. My last kind of question for you is, if you had a do-over in life, what would it be?
You mean, what would I be?
No, what would you be? But if you had a do-over, something maybe where you made a mistake and you had a chance to do it over, what would it be?
Oh my God, I made so many mistakes.
We all do as business owners, but that's where we learn from.
Wow, that's a tough one. I don't know if I could answer that. I really have made a million mistakes, and I'll make them every day. I think maybe a do-over would be when you make a mistake, which I've done, is don't just focus on it so much. Sometimes it's okay that you move past it. I have an issue with that. I'll sit on it and it'll bother me for a very long time, and that's not healthy.
Yeah. And it's kind of like we talked about earlier, you have to move past it, move on. Because one thing is, if you're going to get in business, I mean, some of the early mistakes we made, I mean, I look back now and I think, gosh, that was just crazy, But the thing is,
don't take it personal. And that's hard.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. Well, Christina, it's been really fun sharing your story and what you're doing. And I really think this will help people that's listening to the podcast. But you talked about your book. If you would share that again, and how could they get a copy of it? And then also your website. And I know you're on social media too. We'll have it all in show notes, so you don't have to spell it out or anything, but share with them where they can pick up those items.
Sure. My book is called Every 9 Minutes. It's a memoir, and it takes place in a span of about 30 years. So from when I'm 4 years old to an adult. You can get that on Amazon or my website at 123 Christina V, and Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all the same, 123 Christina V.
Okay, excellent. We'll have that in show notes on chargepodcast.com, because we know most of our chargers are not just sitting and listening to us, taking notes. They're active. They're either exercising or doing some sort of activity that they're doing multiple things, but we'll have all that on show notes. So please check it out. Christina, it's been a great sharing you with the Chargers, and I just can't thank you enough for saying yes to the Charge Podcast.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me.
Well, we're looking forward to a lot of success. Christina has shared that story with us. And I want you, Chargers, to think about, what do you need to move forward on? I know you've set some goals, but it's early in 2022. If you've lost some of that momentum, I want her story to really re-energize you and tell yourself, keep moving forward. It's not about where you're at. It's about where you're going. And what are you willing to do daily? That's why it's create habits around real goals every day. It's about keep charging each and every day. That's how you're going to make it. And you're going to be able to really achieve what you want to achieve in 2022. Chargers, remember, like and share this, let other people know about it. Somebody you may know, maybe they need to hear that story that Christina shared with us. And if you would, just go to your like button. Remember, on your app, there's 3 little buttons. You can easily share it, and you just send them a text message. We truly appreciate that. That's how our podcast keeps growing each and every day. Chargers, I look forward to you coming back next week, and we'll have another great guest. Thanks for joining us. Make it a great day.
This podcast is ended, but your life doesn't just stop. To continue your inspiring journey, head over to chargepodcast.com and access all the tools and resources mentioned on today's show. If you enjoyed this episode, consider sharing with somebody who may also benefit from the advice provided. That's chargepodcast.com. Until next time, charge in business and life.